Welcome to Counterintelligence. This is Eric LeVay. It's my pleasure to be joined by Scott Stedman, the founder of Forensic News, and we have some very special guests, Val Broeksmit and Marie. How are you guys?
Yay.
Round of applause for the room.
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
It's great.
I'm Val Broeksmit, by the way.
It's great to have.
And this is Marie. Marie?
Hi. Hello.
And we're all here on New Year's Day. I'd like to first thank Scott for convincing me to do a podcast on New Year's Day. Really convinced. This guy can
Just
sell
blame
anybody
it on me.
on anything. So, of course, we're all here to talk about Forensic News exclusive, which by the time you hear this is out. Trump Deutsche Bank loans underwritten by Russian state-owned bank. Whistleblower told FBI. So, Scott, why don't you just take us in, and then we'll introduce Val.
Yeah, sure. So the article that we wrote is largely based on Val, who we have here today. Val's father passed away 5 years ago by suicide, and he was the chief risk officer for Deutsche Bank, very high up, very senior executive. And shortly after his father's passing, Val acquired the documents from his father's emails, as well as other attachments and internal documents. And one of the things that Val has learned through the past 5 years since his father's passing, through people that he's met in the bank, outside the bank, working on the story, other sources, is that the Russian state-owned bank VTB actually was an underwriter for Trump's loans, which basically means that they will take the blame if Trump can't ever afford to pay up the loan.
I might add, all of us now live in a safe house in a various.
In Eric's basement. The food's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric only feeds us mashed potatoes and water.
Yeah. So Val, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and start anywhere you want in your story.
Well, first of all,
Oh.
I want to just say, I think you've obviously met a bunch of people this past few years, a bunch of journalists,
I have.
and
All I know now are journalists.
right, that's been your life. And so I feel like whenever a journalist contacts you, it's always wanting to know what was in your father's emails.
I cringe.
And right, and wanting to know personal info about your dad and like what he was sent, like shit he was sending.
Yeah, it's
via
all
email.
gimme. Yeah.
Right. So I think it would be a good place to start to just tell us about you, like where you grew up, what you've done.
Sure.
Just the short story of like
Yeah.
Val Broeksmit's childhood and
Oh, God.
upraising.
Yeah.
Pre-Deutsch.
Yeah.
Deutsche. Sure. Well, I am Val Broeksmit, and I was born a poor black child in southern Alabama. My father used to call me Patches.
What is this,
That's where you cue the song Patches by Clarence Carter.
Yeah.
Great song.
We'll edit that in.
Is the stand-up comedy hour?
Yeah, that's what you're here for. You're the comedian, for God's sake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give us
Let me say on that note, though, I know that it is important. Like, my background is really a lot more like yours, and it's in the creative background. So when Scott and I started working together, and like Marie too, who's an artist, like it was important to me, like we don't like use people, and like it became apparent right away that element does exist in journalism a lot more than I ever realized.
Me too.
Like, I knew that was in entertainment because that's what I do. And I was like, oh, but that actually is in journalism. Like, what can you give me? So we were like, we just like don't play that. We're like,
Yeah, I think we do things a little bit differently. And that's part of the criticism. I know we'll get into this later.
Kind of.
The criticism you had with one of the New York Times articles was the ownership of the whistleblower, like the idea that the journalist owns the whistleblower.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my whistleblower.
Right.
Yeah.
Terrible title.
Yeah.
David claims he did not come up with that, but I don't believe him.
Let me ask you something. Like, we all have all of us have an internal picture, like, of ourselves. That's how we see ourselves. What is it like to have someone invent a version of you that you don't see as yourself? Like,
It was fucked up.
Yeah.
Because David, I thought was my friend. Like, this guy, for 5 years of my life, sort of infiltrated me. I mean, he started out as a stalker.
What?
Yeah. And, so when my dad when he killed himself, I didn't know any journalists. I didn't know anything about journalism.
So what were you doing at the time?
I
Just
didn't know
to
anything
like
about
fill in the
finance.
background.
I'm a musician. You know,
Yeah.
I make music, and I've 36 albums and a single available anywhere. Records are sold.
No, we're all about the plugs. I usually do it at the end, but no, plug the SoundCloud.
No,
all of it.
It's SoundCloud. Jesus.
Marie's
no,
art.
I've graduated past SoundCloud. I hope. No, it's thanks, Eric.
I haven't, maybe.
Yeah, you know, plug the YouTube videos in your mom's basement tapes.
No, you're blue check mark. We get it. Scott and I are not blue check
Yeah,
marks.
I know.
We're-
God.
How
We
come you don't
that-
have one?
I don't know.
You should have one.
I've tried so hard.
Did they reach out to you?
No.
Oh,
You have to like
man.
know somebody. It's one of those things. You have to
Mm, I
know
don't-
somebody in the industry.
Well, I did know one person. I
There you
knew
go.
Bistone's sister,
Mm.
so that was helpful.
Okay, Forrest Gump.
Let's.
Yeah.
Is there anything about
But
your?
she didn't. She's great. She's a great person. But she did not help. That was during the Sony
Yeah.
hack, where she was helpful.
Okay.
Because Biz was the founder, one of the founders of Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and Sony came after Twitter to come after me,
Mhm.
and that's when they stepped in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's later in the story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's start with the VTB stuff if you
Yeah.
wanted. I don't know.
What they want to know my childhood?
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
there anything
well,
about
yeah.
your?
If you want to.
Is there anything about your background before we get into the
Yeah,
story?
because it comes up later. It's why it's
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
sort of story wise. But yeah, I mean, I was born in Kiev in Ukraine, but I moved here when I was 1.5.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm as Ukrainian as Marie is Dutch. She's as French as you can be. You want to say something so that everyone can hear your lovely accent?
Bonsoir.
That's sexy
Yes.
enough for me. All right.
Val's like,
Um,
that's it. I'm sold.
Yeah, I'm sold. And
He just leaves the podcast. He's like,
Yeah.
see you guys. We gotta go to the car for a minute. So no, I mean, my family, we were immigrants, but my mother and my grandmother, sort of, snuck themselves out of Russia and Ukraine. Or this is the 70s, so
Soviet Union.
late 70s. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very anti-Jewish, and my mother and my grandmother. Well, my grandmother's Jewish. My mother and I are, well, my mother is whatever she is, and I am non-denominational.
I'm in a similar boat.
Yeah, see, there you go. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But they had to sell. My grandfather was a World War II sort of hero.
Mm.
He liberated Minsk with the tank commander.
Mm.
But he was Jewish, and they would not let him be a general. They would not promote him because he was Jewish. And so he had to be a colonel for the rest of his life. But he was part of the Communist Party, was not allowed to leave. But my grandmother ended up selling his medals to different points of the underground system there in the black market to
Mhm.
bribe their way out of the
Wow.
country. And
Wow.
so when they finally got out, there was nothing left, and they barely had enough together to get. I think they were in Italy, and where they stopped for about 6 months, and then to Chicago. And then something happened in Chicago. I still don't know what it is. I've never been told the
Mhm.
truth. But my mother and my biological father separated, divorced, and I have 2 or 3 memories of that era.
Mm.
But what I do know is I went to foster care from ages probably 5 to 9 or 5 to 10 or maybe 4 till 8, somewhere
Mm.
Mm.
around there. And 3 different families I remember. They're all good people. I mean, you hear horror stories, but none of that happened to me.
Mhm.
They're all good families. And it was still, of course, difficult being
yeah, I mean,
estranged from
that must
everyone.
have been to be without your mother. And
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
wasn't great.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. But I was the kid, so my focus was very short,
Mhm.
that's true.
and whatever was in front of me, I dealt with at the time. So at school and friends and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I would see my mother every 3 months at a very, sort of placid, badly lit, industrial type room in central Chicago, and I had like an hour to visit everyone.
Mm.
So that was awkward and strange for me.
Mhm.
And then
Mm.
my mother, one after I think a year or 2 years into the last foster care family, said, "I've met this man. He's going to be your new father. We're getting married, and I'd like you to meet him." And I met him, and I remember very briefly this quick just flutter of a memory in the back of my dad was driving a Volvo. My mom went into the gas station to get something to drink, and I was in the back seat. And my dad, I call him Dad now because he's always been my father.
Mhm.
it's like, well, I'm gonna marry your mother, and what do you think? It's very awkward, you know. So
How old
awkward
were
too.
you at the time?
Oh, it's maybe 8, 7.
Yeah.
It's funny how parents always phrase these things as a choice. Like, I remember that kind of thing. It's like, you have no choice.
That's
Yeah.
right. No, he was like that. Yeah.
Like,
So
what if you said no? Like, you know what? The wedding's off.
No, I don't want you to be my new dad. You know. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. It's right. Wedding's off.
Yeah.
You're going back to your foster care family.
Parents always do that. Like, do you want to? Hey, what do you think about having a
This for dinner.
sister? You're like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
if I say no, or
Mhm.
we're not gonna have another kid.
Right.
So please.
No, it was. I remember. Yeah, because you think you have a choice at 7, and you feel like, oh wow, this is a big choice. I'm 7 years old. I get to say, well, of course, I think it's sure. Okay, why not? You know, can I have some candy too? But then I remember a lot of traumatic events of leaving the foster care family was not lovely because they were good people and I had gotten used to them and thought this was my family. So my father remarried my mother, and he just and this is now William Broeksmit.
Mhm.
Is his full name, William S. Broeksmit, and his father was a minister in Chicago, and they lived in the parish house. He is one of 6, and grew up just above the poverty line. They never had any money, but they were very well educated, East Coast sort of waspy people, and their family had some money from way back when, and they went to school with Prescott Bush, for example, George Bush's grandfather. So they sort of knew everyone. They still came from that world, and my dad just wanted to go into business. He just liked finance and he loved numbers. He was a math guy. He was I remember him trying to teach me how to do, I multiply 44 times 88. You can do it really fast. And here's the trick. I don't remember the trick right now, but it'll come back to me. Stuff like that. He was very, very good with it. And the court said, you have to have a home and a proper, job and make this X amount of money, and then you can have Val back. And my dad did everything the courts asked for, and I went back to them in 1984 in the fall, and then I started 4th grade, and that's where my memories sort of are clearer. Yeah, and that's the basic gist. And we grew up in New Jersey this time, so they flew me out from Chicago and into New Jersey, and that's where I started my second life, I guess.
Well, I'm a New Jersey native.
Yeah,
So
we're about.
Montclair.
That's right, Montclair.
Yeah.
We were in Short Hills.
Oh, that's a nice town.
Yeah.
And that's it's like an upscale. A nice.
Yeah. Well, it was weird because there are 2 parts of it. There was a lower scale, and then there was like the upper scale.
Oh no.
And we started the lower scale. And so I remember I had no money as a child, and my mother we never had any money. My dad never had any money. Well, and when I say my dad, I'm referencing my Bill Broeksmit. And just to get that out of the way, my natural father, my bio father, disappeared off the face of the earth around 1987. No one's seen or heard from him. And that's
Wow.
So how old were you at that time? That would have been
9.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Or 10. Or no, yeah, 11-ish.
Wow, that's crazy.
Around 87. It could have been
Yeah.
85. But that's what I'm told by my grandmother.
I guarantee you, Scott could find him.
I could probably find
Yeah.
Scott can find anybody.
Probably found you.
Scary.
Yeah? Okay, I challenge you. I challenge you to
It's actually
find
scary.
out. Yeah?
This guy shows me tricks,
Miss-
investigative tricks. It's absolutely
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Proprietary, all proprietary.
Yeah.
Not proprietary, it's open source.
Yeah.
It's called Google. It's called Google.
Yeah.
For the right price.
Right.
So why don't we, go ahead.
So that just let me really quickly.
Mhm.
I moved in with them, started 4th grade, and I called my dad because you have to call him dad now. And I remember that being awkward, and he felt just as awkward as I did. He's like, "Oh, you doesn't have to call me Val. You can call him whatever he likes." I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever he likes,
Already making dad jokes.
Right, it's starting.
Yeah.
But I remember it was quite a difference between the family I just came from and my mother and my new dad, because the family I just came from, they were both teachers, and they loved to laugh, very happy, laughing types of very warm people. And my mother, not so warm. My dad, awkward, not the warmest guy ever, but in his way, he was, he showed you love in his way, which is attention and trying to teach you things and explaining stuff, and that's anyway, that's neither here nor there. But that's where my second life began, and also
Mhm.
my father's second life. And he had started working at Merrill Lynch in 1981. He
Mhm.
went from Continental Bank to Merrill Lynch, and in Merrill Lynch, he met Edson Mitchell,
Mhm.
and Edson was his boss for a bit in the early 80s, and together they started the swap group, and at the swap group they created the sort of over-the-counter, well, not over-the-counter, more of a it's still bank-to-bank at this point, derivative swaps.
Mhm.
So they didn't invent derivative swaps. They were invented by a woman in the late 70s, but they made them, mass-produced them in the sense where they made them, banks could buy them between themselves, and they could trade. And the actual algorithms my dad would write,
Mm.
it's something he would write them in his head. I mean, he was that good. It was
Man.
incredible.
I'm lost. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I know what those are, but I'm like, that stuff is way beyond my.
Oh, me
Me.
too, man. I don't. It's all Greek to me or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's literally in Greek writing. You can,
Yeah.
E sigma and the equilibrium theorems and all
Mhm.
this crazy shit. And he'd have these compact computers. I remember Merrill Lynch would give him this computer's like a briefcase, and he came home one day with this weird looking thing. I was like, "What is that, Dad?" "Well, son, is a computer. This is the future." It's like, "What do you mean?" And it's this big just brick, and he'd open it up, and it had this tiny screen. It's like 7 or 8 inches, big keyboard, and clickety clack, and he would just run and crunch numbers. And then I remember I would steal the computer and just try and make with the little instruction manual, which was like this fucking big, it's massive. And I could remember how you make like the computer would musical notes, like a C and a D, and I could program it to make these cool things. Until one day I completely bricked it, and my dad was so upset.
And you're like, I'm gonna try music at this point.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. At this point I was interested in science,
Mm.
Mm.
and remember one of the few times my father was proud of me was when I had all the lights go out in the house and trip the fuses, because I was trying to make an electromagnet as a 10 or 12-year-old. And my dad's like, what happened up here? Because the lights went out. And he sees me playing with this magnet and this thing I plugged into the wall. He's like, "What is this?" I said, "Oh, sorry, Dad, I was trying to make an electromagnet." He's like, "What?" It's like, "An electromagnet?" Like, "Yes, you know that Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica you got me? I'm using it. See here." And he says you can plug this into the wall, and he pushes things down the magnet, and you can have 2 magnets stacked. He's like, "Well, that's okay." "Well, I'll go fix the breaker. You go carry on doing this." And I would never hear the end of that. I mean, for the rest of my life, my father would tell people the story.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that he was proud of it.
It's a good picture of like your innovative brain, I would say,
And it's
Oh.
and
and it's nice hearing you talk about him.
Oh,
you
no,
know,
I was just...
it's
I was
nice.
just-
It's nice to hear that.
Yeah, to actually
Yeah.
hear him as a human being
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah. No, he was a great guy.
in the
Yeah.
past.
But I wasn't innovative. I was just pulling
Hey,
shit
I don't
apart and
know.
plugging into a wall.
A lot of kids aren't doing that. So okay, so your
Yeah.
dad was at Merrill.
Yeah, he's at Merrill. And
When does he make the transition to?
um,
Deutsche?
Deutsche, he makes the transition in, well, much later, in mid to late 90s, 97, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Orange County had, where you are from, I believe, Scott?
Yeah.
Yes, you're a Californian. And
Mhm.
Eric, you are not a Californian.
Just by move.
But you know the
Yeah,
area,
yes.
Orange County. Sorry, I'm still learning Los
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've been here 2.5 years, I'm learning it. Anyway, Orange County invested in some highly risky derivatives at the time. As my father was creating these derivatives that people would invest in, Orange County was one client of Merrill Lynch. And they had $1 billion invested. And there was an incident, and Edson and my dad were sort of teamed up at this time. They were like partners in crime, thick as thieves. Even though these are terrible, terrible words, thick as thieves, crime, etc. But that's it's the expressions we have. I can't think of anything better. But they're not criminals.
They were buddies.
They were buddies. No, I know, but it's just funny because you can try and think of how else do you express friendship.
Yeah.
You say, "Oh, partners in crime," or
That's a good point.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Orange County went bankrupt because of this, and my father had warned Orange County in this now famous memo called the Orange County Memo, the Broeksmit Memo, saying, "Hey, I highly advise against this investment. It's way too risky for you, and I don't think it's going to turn out how you like." And Orange County said, "Okay, thank you, Bill. We're going to do it anyway." And they went bankrupt and tried to sue Merrill Lynch for the $1 billion. So you gave us bad advice, Merrill. You see, this was really terrible stuff, and it's all your fault. And Merrill Lynch's like, "Look, Bill Broeksmit told you and warned you, and you did it anyway." I don't know about this warning. What are you talking about? What warning? It's like, well, this thing right here. It's called this memo from William Broeksmit to Edson Mitchell. So they went to court, and it was the memo that finally that sealed the deal for Merrill. And
Seems to be a theme in his life.
yeah,
People at Deutsche didn't listen to him
that's right.
much
It
at
is.
all, even
No.
though he had that very senior position.
So why don't we bring
It's
this
ever-
now?
If you ever,
yeah.
that's the great mistake to not listen to my father.
Yeah.
It seems like it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely seems like he had foresight with a lot of things that were going on at
Yeah.
both banks.
Yeah.
Let's bring this now into this moment right here,
Sure.
and maybe how you guys met, and then we can go into the article.
Oh, Scott, sure. Well, Scott, I was working with David on the book and the article.
And that's just for everyone. I'm still.
sorry.
Is it Enrich
Yeah.
or Enrich?
It's he's Enrich, but I've been
Enrich.
calling him Enric because
Okay.
that's how you pronounce it properly in German. He doesn't know how to pronounce his own fucking name.
So
Right, Marie? How would you pronounce Enrich? Sorry?
Enrich.
Okay.
Ooh.
See,
Well,
Enrich.
Forensic
yeah.
News will be doing a separate feature on how to pronounce
Mhm.
David Enrich's name, which will be coming out in
So
June.
the short version of that is in as I came back to, well, it'll be part of my story, but if you want to skip to it now,
Let's
No,
get to the
'cause-
let's get to the present and see
yeah.
Yeah, let's just take
see
it.
kind of
Okay.
where we're going. Yeah.
Yeah. So just cut to Los Angeles, 2017. I am talking with Maggie Haberman and David Enrich again. And
Mhm.
David and I go back to 2014, where he was my stalker, and I had.
So your father passed in 2014,
That's right. Yeah.
and how soon after that were the journalist requests?
Immediately.
Really?
Yeah, that same day.
Wow.
Jenny Strasberg was the first one, and she
Mm.
was from the Wall Street Journal, working under David at that point at the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
And they're slipping notes under the door. Please talk to us. Blah blah
Hmm.
blah.
Kinda like ambulance chasing a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
Like-
yeah.
Like we're talking like right away, like
Immediately, same day,
the same day.
same fucking
Wow.
day. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, and David was working, and that was David was Jenny's boss at that time. So, anyway, where am I? Where do you want to go here? Wait,
Just
the
the-
question was, how did I meet Scott?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
where we are in the present, and then before we get to the story.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then David had convinced the New York Times to write a profile on me, and this is January 2018. And then HarperCollins agreed to turn this profile into a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we met.
Okay.
But I had to get to David to do it. David had jumped ship from from the Wall Street Journal to New York Times, and when he did that, it was now acceptable for me to have him write it because I did not want him to
Mhm.
write it before that. I was working with another journalist at the Rolling Stone, and another journalist, who I asked not to name.
Yeah.
Asked me not to name.
Sure.
But
What was that
Wha-
first message that you sent me? Because it was a while ago.
it was during that time. So I was working with David,
Yeah.
and we were working together, and we're doing the background on Deutsche Bank and some Russian banks. And I remember on Twitter, someone said, "Check out this kid Scott." He's because I was arguing with Bill Browder about something, and one of the Bill Browder's troll people said, "Check out Scott Stedman. He's really into this stuff, and I think you'll like him."
Mhm.
Like, who the fuck is Scott Stedman? He's like, he's some kid. He's a college kid, and he writes really well. It's like, I don't care about some stupid college kid. Come on, I'm talking to Maggie Haberman. I got the New York Times. I got the Wall Street Journal, Rolling Stone. What am I going to deal with some crazy kid out of college?
I heard that once or twice.
Yeah. So I check out his Twitter feed. I'm like, hey, he's pretty good. How the hell did he get this information? And I'm like, he must know somebody at the banks or VTB. I mean, was he a Russian spy? What is
he
this?
gets that too.
I've definitely gotten that before too.
We get that on the regular from those.
Yeah.
It's not even worth bringing up their names.
Yeah.
But just,
Oh, the Louise,
less-
the Louises and the Chucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah.
I've been accused also by Louise Mensch that was to be a Russian spy.
Nice.
I don't
Yeah.
think you're really on Twitter unless you've been accused of being a Russian spy by Louise Mensch.
It's a badge of honor.
It is. Yeah.
There's.
honestly.
I mean, I've always known how many just odd people there are, but since we started at the Forensic News, I
Mhm.
just there's like a new caliber of
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
and it's just people who straight up who really need to talk to like somebody. And I'm
You
like
have
not
to
being
remember
funny,
though,
like,
half of them are literally bots.
Yeah,
and that's where it's
true.
like you
No,
don't
I
wanna
might
get
I might
into-
be having a total problem with just a computer and not know
Yeah.
it, but they're very convincing.
Yeah, no, it's true. And this bot or non-bot, I'm not sure, it said check out Scott. So I did.
Mhm.
I was like, he's got talent, and I've been pretty. I like to say I'm a pretty good judge of talent, and I was like, this kid's pretty fucking good. It's like, wow. And then I saw like your detractors were all like, well, he's just a child.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's barely out of diapers. How can you trust him to be journalism? And I'm sure like you heard this all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, but he's just. He's
It was an advantage though for a
called
while
him-
too.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
after I graduated college, I would still say I was a student journalist,
Yeah.
just to like, because people are
We
willing
can't
to
do
share.
that anymore.
Yeah,
can we?
now it's.
Yeah, they like brush. Oh, you're a student journalist. Sure, I'll tell you all this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
No, that's how it
yeah.
was for the first
Sure.
couple months.
It's an advantage, of course.
Yeah, totally.
And I told Marie, I've called him a Wunderkid, so I can talk in German.
gosh.
He's a Wunderkid.
I don't know if
Wunderkid. How do you say that, Marie?
Wunderkind.
there it is.
Wunderkind.
I'm not sure if I agree, but I appreciate this.
Oh, this fake modesty is despicable. So anyway, so I contact Scott and I say, hey, what did I say? What was
I
my
was
first
working on.
DM?
What was I working on at the time? I want to say Trump Tower Moscow.
I don't remember.
Nothing Deutsche.
Do you
at
have
the time.
Do you have the DMs? Oh, I have my phone. Marie, where's my
Yeah.
phone? Yeah, it was.
I want to say it was Trump Tower Moscow.
It must have been.
So that's when I was looking into the Russian banks, and that probably coincided with what you were.
And I was interested in what you had because some of the documents you had were very fascinating, and I don't know how
Yeah,
you got
you know what
access to them.
It was about VTB.
Yeah, it was.
It was definitely about
Yeah.
VTB.
Speaking of which, I think that's our cue
Yeah, we should get into that.
to talk about Forensic News' new article.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I'll just go over kind of the
Oh, it's in my pocket.
the structure of the article.
And once again, of course, I don't have it ready. Once again, for those listening,
Mm-hmm.
Trump Deutsche Bank loans, underwritten by Russian state-owned bank, whistleblower told FBI.
Right.
Scott.
So we are reporting that Val, who we have in the room today, he has a relationship with the FBI, and that's been known through some public reporting before. But what is new information is that Val has told us and has told investigators that VTB, which is a Russian state-owned bank, very close to Putin, and it's basically the oligarch bank in Russia, second largest bank. Val brought this info to us saying that VTB underwrote the Trump loans, and we subsequently did research to try to verify a relationship between VTB and Deutsche Bank, and specifically DBTCA, where Val's father worked and who have Trump as a client and other high-profile individuals. So we, in the course of investigating this claim, we found a bunch of links that prove a closer relationship between VTB and DBTCA.
Mm-hmm.
And we've actually, in the past 36 hours, even learned more than that I don't even think you know about yet.
Oh, good. Surprises.
Yeah. So,
and it gets better than that.
yeah, there's a lot to it.
No, I mean, it gets better than just VTB underwriting the loans.
Okay, a little teaser.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, wow.
For next time.
No, I'm
For
interested.
next time.
Oh, not this time. Should we not talking about this today?
Well, the follow-up.
Okay.
But yeah, so the gist of the article is that Val we establish as a credible source of information, and we
Not possibly believable.
not possibly believable, as someone wrote yesterday or today.
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw
I
it
found
on
it,
Twitter.
Scott. Our first.
Oh.
Is that our
conversation.
first message? When was that?
This was 5/4/18.
Wow.
May 4th, 18.
By the way, I think that article was written by a student journalist, the one that Val posted.
Oh, was it?
I think.
Really?
Isn't it Occidental College?
I don't know.
I looked at the bottom. I think that's a college.
Okay.
Not that, as we've all learned, a student
Writ-
journalist.
D
yeah.
minus for
Written
that.
by Kennedy, apparently. Dana Kennedy.
I just want to, if I could.
From the Kennedy
I don't know.
clan.
Maybe some offshoot of some
There's so many of them.
some strange DNA spectacle clan. I don't know. But clearly this woman could not write. Sorry, Eric.
No, not at all. I just want, if we could, we're living in a time now where a lot of news, because of the things that are going on, are disappearing, or because the level of criminality is so,
Mm-hmm.
is every day.
Yeah.
So I just want to once again reiterate the forensic news reporting with Val, and just again this headline, because it I really can't wait to see this come out. But again, Trump Deutsche Bank loans underwritten by Russian state-owned bank. That has not been whistleblower told FBI.
Mm-hmm.
Forensic News is the first to report that. It is obviously a huge deal.
Yeah, we
Ladies
should
and
probably
gentlemen, breaking news. Forensic News, first to report.
Yeah.
we should probably
For the
just hear
first
it.
time ever, here we go. The
Yeah.
breaking news. Forensic News, breaking news.
But yeah, you should you should
I was thinking
Ray's giving him the
maybe-
side eye.
Maybe that's what you guys with the title, like Forensic News is cool, but what if it's just like the Forensic News or Forensic News Team or Forensic News
It's a
itself?
forensic group.
The Forensic Group, yes, FNG, and you can be FNG.
That sounds like one of the banks that we go
Like
after.
you need a
Yeah.
you need a third syllable, like something Forensic News.
Mm.
or
Should have
Forensic
came to me
News.
6 months ago when I was thinking of names.
I mean, we talked in 2018, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
came to you in 2018.
What was that about? What was that
So
about?
I said, "Hey, Scott, I may have something for you."
Mm.
In parenthetical, you do good work. And then I said, and someone's brought you up in conversation. New paragraph. Think you may be able to help with some of this DB/Russia/Trump data I have.
There you go.
That was it. And then you say, hey, Val, I'm in class most of the day, but willing to help in any way I can in the coming days.
That's
Feel
awesome.
free to send anything to my signal or email. Listen to my bio. Thanks, man.
Jimmy Olsen over here.
And I said, good grief. You're still in undergrad? Well, that's even more
Yeah.
impressive. Good
That
for
was
you,
me,
mate.
like, oh, I'm still scared of talking on the phone, so I'm just gonna like
Let me just
give you
get
my
out of
email
class.
instead. I probably was in class though, actually. Thinking of it.
But no, I found that more impressive. No, not a detraction. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, my grades sucked my last year,
Really?
so I was
Did you-
working on all this shit. Like, I just didn't.
Oh no!
That's
Did
I
you
awesome.
fail?
didn't pay attention, but whatever.
Did you fail?
No, I didn't
Oh,
fail.
okay.
It's just I was
My grades
normally a
sucked. I got
good.
an A minus.
Do you only do podcast interviews if the host had a certain GPA in college?
Yes, you got 3.5 or above.
I'm out.
That's right.
So Val, let's
But
talk.
yeah.
Let's talk about this primary. What the focus of the article is about. Actually, we were talking about the FBI. Let's start there because that was always interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So describe your relationship with the FBI and
G-men.
the 2016 email that kind of got things
Right.
started.
Hey, Marie, do you have that on your the email I sent the FBI? Well, when I was in New York in 2016, I was sort of running amok. Life had taken an unexpected turn for me. I
Yeah.
was living in friends' summer houses and apartments I never used. Fortunately, I had some friends that were very wealthy, so it's great to say, "Hey, yes, you can use my Park Avenue penthouse for 3 months. I'm not going to be there.
It's good to know
I'm
people.
going to be skiing in, wherever.
In Davos.
In Davos. No, Val d'Isère, I think it was where she went. And a great friend of mine, Sydney, really lovely lady, really cool. And she had all these properties everywhere. And one of them happens to be a Trump building on 59th Street and 6th Avenue. It's
Okay.
she's not a Trump person. And
Is that like Trump Park
Yes.
condominium or something like that?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Beautiful views of Central Park.
But if you live there now, you're definitely a Trump person. Like, how could you? Like,
No,
unless you
no,
can't
no.
afford to sell it.
I think
like,
they actually renamed it.
Why? Yeah.
Half
No,
of
they
them
did.
they've,
Did they?
they've renamed. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did,
They want any
Bad for
association with
business.
Trump.
dude. I'd puke every time I went into the lobby. Like, damn, I just have to. How many more payments do I have left in this condo?
I mean, that's a free enterprise thing. Like, if you're going to lose a bunch of business because your name is Trump,
Right.
then
Right.
change it.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
that's what they did.
That's the beauty of
Yeah.
the country.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people aren't going to move. I mean, when you have a $10 million home overlooking Central Park, you're not going to leave it
Right.
in your beautiful view just because it says Trump.
Right.
You're going to have someone remove Trump from the building.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So that's what they did, and in Sydney the same. And it was a great place. And I was very upset at the time, and no one was sort of listening to me. And I'm saying, look, Deutsche Bank's dirty, and I know it because my father was a Deutsche banker. And people are like, okay, whatever. Who are you again? It's because you're the son of a banker. Doesn't mean you know anything. And they were right. That doesn't mean anything. But I present these people with documents. And look, here you go. Here's a document clearly showing that they failed their stress test and they fucked it up and they hid the results, et cetera, et cetera. That was an article I did with Charles Levinson from Reuters. And, I would do that later. No, sorry, I did that year before. But still, people weren't taking me seriously, which is understandable. I mean, I am
People
a
still don't
musician.
take you seriously.
Yeah,
That's kind of the whole gist of it.
yeah.
So that's just in
yeah.
terms of the article. That's kind of how we laid it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like we restate the claim that you're making If you want to just talk about it for like 2 seconds, that's fine. What you told the FBI about
Sorry.
VTB.
Yeah, sorry. If I go on a tangent, just stop me.
I'm doing my best.
I'm sorry, hold on.
Do you know how to? I'm looking for the initial email.
Oh, yeah, just search FBI 2016. Or DOJ 2016. So I was in I had this car, which I was pretty much living in the car, in between people's places. But it was a nice car. It was an Audi Q5. I loved it.
Nice.
I've got the email if we want to.
It's very comfortable to sleep in.
Yeah, we're gonna actually print it in the article.
Yeah,
I told
of course,
you that,
yeah.
right?
No, it's in the
So
article.
it's April 15 of 2016. You're writing to DOJ.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Val Broeksmit. I'm writing in hopes.
Broeksmit.
And I'm writing in hopes of speaking to someone at the DOJ in reference to the evidence I have showing major fraud at one of the world's largest banks. This is spring of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't hear back from the FBI until
2019 or 18. Sorry.
late 2018.
Late 2018. It's about November.
That's some fast work right there.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
as one of the agents who called me says, in his very
G-man.
no, but it says the wheels of justice move slowly, Val.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he laughs. I'm sure he said that
Which
a million
sucks because
times.
it's true.
Seems like
Yeah.
they only
Some of
move
these
for
cases
certain
take
people.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I wondered why do they move so slowly and so appropriate time-wise? Because now is when, at that time when they contacted me, the investigations were heating up.
Mhm.
The Mueller report it hadn't come out yet, but it started.
It was wrapping up.
And so everyone was very curious as to their timing, as was I. And I asked them, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Mm-hmm.
They contacted me and said, Val, we got the wheels of justice move slowly. We got your email. We would love to talk to you. And I said, oh, good. We'll talk right now. By the way, blah, 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 blah. No, Val, not on the phone.
Yeah.
Do not do this over the phone. It's like, okay, I'll send you an email with everything. No, we don't do emails. We want to come out. We want to meet you. I'm like, oh, okay. So how do we do this? I said, well, why don't we come meet you at your home? I said, wait, what? I said, yeah, you know what? Or a hotel room. Would you like to meet in a hotel room? I said, what the?
Absolutely not.
Are you kidding? It's like, now I'm thinking, okay, Russian spies.
Mhm.
Or Bulgarian spies, German spies. I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? They want to meet in my home?
Yeah.
Like, no, man. You're not coming to my home. I'm not meeting you in a hotel room. You know, first of all, prove to me you are from the FBI. How do we do this? Okay, here's what you do. You call One Federal Plaza. I'm going to give you the phone number. Actually, it's better if I don't give you the phone number. Look up online. Find the phone number for the New York office, One Federal Plaza. Sorry, Maria, okay? And call and ask for me. I'm not going to tell you this person's name, so don't even ask.
No wonder
Yeah.
the FBI can't solve any crimes. Like, it's a fucking kind of a process just to get.
Yeah.
It is a process.
That was a joke.
No,
Sorry.
but this is
sorry,
how
sorry.
he
FBI
wanted.
agents.
He wanted me to verify him, and this was proper. It was the right thing to do, and I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure he wasn't a crazy person or a spy
Sure.
or just another reporter. So
David Enrick in a mask.
yeah, right.
What the hell?
For Halloween next year.
Yeah.
That'll be my outfit, but it's like,
Yeah, New York Times reporter is one of the big Halloween.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually the number one
Mhm.
outfit.
Go to every door. Who are you?
Please, Val.
him your stalker. That's what it is. So anyway, they say okay, and I verify who this person by calling them and ask for their name and their squad number. The guy gave me the squad number and their badge number as well. And after I felt comfortable enough to verify who he was, I said, okay, you can come out here, but I will not meet you in a hotel or my home. Take me to your building, your federal building, and I'll
Mhm.
meet you there in an office with other people. He's like, absolutely, of course, let's do that. And so when can we come? I was like, when can you come? Anytime. What's your schedule like? We'll be there next week. You know, and not next week, but they ended up coming a few months later. And it was interesting because they did not, you know, the parlay or did not. What's the word? What's the word? I can't think properly. What's the word?
For what?
Pawn off or to give the job to someone else. And there's a word for it.
I'm not sure. I usually know the word.
What is it? Delegate. Yes, they did not delegate this the task to someone in the LA bureau. They
Right,
flew out
which-
from New York City to Los Angeles.
It's a very important point,
Yeah.
and I think we make that point in the article just to show that how seriously they took
Okay.
this
Yeah.
after seeing some of your stuff.
Yeah.
And
Can we say what what their job is at the FBI, or can we say that? Or no?
Yeah.
They're agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just go with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
They're
enough.
agents working on the.
You have to be careful. These are good guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair
You
enough.
know, it's not. Let's not fuck with them.
Yeah.
And just say they are agents. They work at the FBI,
Okay.
and they were interested in what I had. I can't
Mhm.
tell you what part of the agency. I don't want to tell you
Right.
anything else. But they came out and they did not have my name on the roster for the sign-in sheets. They said, Val, when you get there, you call us. We'll come down and let you in. So I said, okay. And I came down. I went through security. They said, do not sign anything. Do not put your name on anything. I thought, well, that was odd. So, except for this little tag. So you can put, it says, FBI, you've been here at this day. It's like, oh, okay. So
Except for the tag that says confidential informant
Yeah.
number 1.
Yeah.
is a number one. No, so I put it, I was very proud to have this FBI sticker on my jacket. It's like, cool. It's like, hey, Marie, guess what? I'm in the federal building. I got a sticker. It says FBI and I got my name on it. So do you remember this day? Yeah. So they take me to the 10th floor where we have to exit and go into another set of very special secret elevators and go up to another floor, which I will not tell you. And I was forced to hand in my all my recording devices and all my
Cell
my
phone,
weapons.
Yeah.
my weapons and my communist paraphernalia and anarchist cookbook stuff.
And the pro Putin.
That's
uh,
right.
They let him keep the Trump
handbook.
hat though. The
Yeah,
MAGA
that's
Yeah,
right.
MAGA hat and
Yeah.
MAGA hat.
And underwear.
No, keep that on, Val. Keep that on, Val.
That's right. So
So this is 2019 now, right? This
Yeah.
is
no, this is 2018.
when you first
Sorry.
meet them.
Wasn't it February 2019?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. This
So
is
they
no,
respond to your
February.
email in late 2018.
Right.
They come into LA early
February.
2019.
February 2019. And we sit down in this great, big, massive boardroom, and we just start talking for 3.5 hours.
Mm.
And they were, they're very genuine. They knew what they were talking about, and they gave me little information. They're
Right.
very good at this. And these guys have been working together for a long time, so you could tell their rapport was really something to see.
You're professionals.
Oh yeah,
Like right here.
oh yeah.
Just 5 professionals
Yeah.
doing a podcast.
one guy was sort of like the salesman, good guy, the good cop, and the other guy was like the hard nosed.
So it is true. The good
Actually,
cop, bad
yeah.
cop.
Yeah, except
Did
they
he-
did it in the same room, so it was very.
Yeah.
The good cop, bad cop. It didn't work in that sense, but it.
So he threw you through a plate glass window, and then the other guy was like, "What do you have for us?"
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Yes, yeah. He beat me
Please.
with a stick. Yeah.
So that meeting, you think,
Yeah.
was helpful for them?
I don't know. Apparently so. Yeah.
Because- okay, so we should explain that you
Mm-hmm.
have a continuing relationship. What is your
Mhm.
What's your official? What did they say you can tell people you are?
Counterintelligence special advisor, or special advisor to counterintelligence.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
cool.
didn't
And
know that.
counterintelligence is the name of your podcast.
So-
right?
I wish I knew that. I would have
There you
totally
go.
started off with that.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, can you get another guy that title? A friend, a close,
Yeah.
a close friend.
Yes, the water boy.
No, but seriously though, but that's important
Sorry,
because
Eric.
it shows.
I don't. Bad joke.
Stop joking, you guys. This
All
is
right.
serious.
Sorry. Okay. What? Sorry.
No, but I was
No,
saying
it's
that
fine.
it's important because they're giving you a title, so they obviously find value in your documents.
And a toy gun and a fake badge, too.
Yeah. A
Made of
squirt gun?
plastic. Yes, squirt gun.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Filled
What's
with
that
vodka.
title again? Just please.
Counterintelligence special advisor,
I like
or
that.
special advisor to counterintelligence.
I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah,
It's definitely cool.
it got me laid, Marie.
No comment.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
So you
okay.
So you met
okay.
them in 2019.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have a continuing.
Yeah. So,
I don't know how much you want to say about that. But you have
uh,
a continuing relationship with
yeah,
them.
continuing relationship, and they. So it's interesting because at the same time, I was asked by David Enrich actually to get involved with the congressional investigation.
Mm-hmm.
David had come just a month before to fact check the book and fact check what would become the article 6 months later, which I thought was going to happen the next 3 weeks, but it didn't.
Mm-hmm. So just we
yeah.
should just say, just for the audience, David Enrich has a book coming out about Deutsche Bank
But yeah,
next month, I think, or sometime soon.
yeah, some.
So he was working on that.
Let's
with
not
Val.
plug this fucker's.
I'm
book.
not plugging it. I'm just saying that as background.
Yeah, so David says to me, Val, it would be great if you could somehow get involved in this thing because I need an ending for the book. I don't really have a good ending. He says, get involved with this congressional hearing. He's like, can you find Maxine Waters' info or data. I said, well, David, you give it to me. You're the journalist. You're the New York Times. I'm sure you have it in a Rolodex somewhere. It's like, I can't be seen helping you. I said, what? Yes, I can't be seen helping you, in this sense, but I'm just asking you if you can get yourself involved in this. It'll be good for you and me. I was like, all right, well, let me see what I can do. So Marie and I go to a party with this one of her friends, this producer, Gal. Should we say her name? No. And at this party is Moby. And Moby and another lovely, what's her name? Heather Graham. Yeah, Heather Graham. Very, very smart. God, they're brilliant. I mean, we're talking about the table. They knew everything about everything. Well, not everything. Everything about politics and everything about Trump and everything about the way government agencies work, which I didn't know at the time. It was quite impressive. And Moby really he kept talking about Nancy Pelosi. He has this thing with Nancy Pelosi. He's like, my friend Nancy Pelosi is going to help you. I'm telling you, you should get in touch with her. Wait, who's that, Moby? My friend Nancy Pelosi. Yes, you got to talk to my friend Nancy Pelosi. Wait, is she your friend? My friend Nancy Pelosi? Of course she's my friend. You know, it's funny how he always said my friend Nancy Pelosi. He's a funny guy.
My recollection is though that he didn't, when you told me this before, he didn't understand why it was funny to you, even though it's obvious why it's funny to all of us, because it's one of those things with a sense of humor. You either get it why it's funny or not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
My friend Adam Schiff, right?
Yes, my friend Eric.
Yeah.
Eric Levi.
Yeah.
Yes, my girlfriend Marie over here, to signify everyone by who they are to you.
Right.
That's great. Recording engineer over here. Right? And investigative journalist Scott Stedman. Yes. Anyway.
So Moby put you in touch, right? This is the gist of it.
So the gist, Moby puts me in touch, not with his friend Nancy Pelosi, but with his other friend, Dan Goldman. Dan Goldman was the lead attorney, I believe, for the Schiff investigation at the time.
I think he's still involved in some role. We saw him in the impeachment hearings.
Yes.
I think Bob Roach took over.
Right. The financial stuff.
He's a great guy. Yeah, later in the story, I will tell you how I met Bob Roach. Brilliant guy, great guy. I feel so much better in the nation, and the country should feel better to know Bob Roach is in charge of this. But anyway, Dan Goldman, Moby puts me in touch with Dan Goldman. Dan Goldman says, okay, Val, nice to meet you. Give me everything you got. Okay, really nice to meet you too. No, I'm not going to give you, I still haven't met him. It's only over the phone when we speak. And it's like, it's a bit much. I don't even know if you are the Dan Goldman that Moby said you are. I mean, who I only know you as a disembodied voice on the phone. It's like, well, whatever. You should trust me because I am Dan Goldman, and take my word, and you know I'm Moby, so just give me everything you have now. I'm like, well, fuck you, man. No, I'm not going to give you everything I have. How about this? Why don't I meet you in California? And no, you can't meet me in California. I'm in Washington, D.C. doing very important things. I'm not going to fly out for you. It's like, well, this isn't going very well, so maybe, you know what, Val? How about this? Why don't you go and meet Adam Schiff at his office, and you can give Adam Schiff the documents, and that should be sufficient for you. Okay, let's do that. I'll go meet Adam Schiff. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, all right, if you can get me in the room with Adam Schiff, he must be the Dan Goldman he says he is.
Yeah.
And this isn't some intermediary spy. I'm not being hacked with a man-in-the-middle attack with a crazy guy named pretending to be Dan Goldman. So he sets up a meeting, and Marie and I go with Marlo. He's a 7-year-old. Great kid. He's so funny. It's like, hello, what's that, Mr. Schiff? He's great talking. It's like a radio. He just keeps talking. Hello, I'm Schiff. Really nice to see you. I saw you on television. Oh my God, your tie looks great. Oh, this is a great office.
Adam Schiff
so
is
funny.
like, do you have any documents, young man?
Yes.
No,
sorry, I don't have any documents for you, but I have a drawing I made of a dragon.
He's like, young man, did you see how I led the last hearing?
Yeah.
The poise.
What did you think about my
Well, I think you could have done a little bit better because it's a little boring. I mean, I just want to change the channel and watch Rugrats.
No, do you know that Adam Schiff wants to be a screenwriter? Like he's written like 10 specs.
Has he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Seriously?
That's like his real. You could tell that might actually be like his actual dream.
That's
and
what
it's
he's
going to
do after Congress.
Like, yeah, he's written a lot of 10 specs.
Well, he does have sort of like the burden on his shoulders, like every screenwriter in Hollywood does. Walks around with years of failure.
That's a good point.
Anyway, but sorry, I made him laugh. Engineer's laughing. All right. So I get in the room and I say, hey, Mr. Adam Schiff. Hello, nice to meet you. He's like, hello, Mr. Val Broeksmit. Sit down. So we sit down. Sort of stares at me, and I stare at him. Like, so, how's it going? Great. I hear you have something for me, yeah? Yes, I have these documents. Well, you can't give them to me here. It's like, well, why am I here? I don't understand. No, you can't give them to me. This is completely ridiculous. There's a chain of evidence. You have to go through the proper chain of evidence. You have to give them to Dan. So, well, Dan told me to come meet you here with the documents. I have them in this drive that I spent a few days organizing for you. He said, well, I'm sorry, I cannot take him. You have to give him to Dan. I said, well, where's Dan? Well, he's in Washington, D.C. I said, well, how am I going to do that? Well, you have to figure it out with Dan. It's like, okay.
So Schiff didn't seem prepared for that meeting at all.
No. And I started thinking, okay, well, maybe I can talk to Adam Schiff and find out what he knows about Deutsche Bank and have see what kind of information I can get out of him for not only myself, but for David in the book. Because at this point, I'm still thinking, I got to get all these things that David needs too, as procurer of information. So it's like, hey, Adam Schiff, can I, sorry, I didn't call him Adam Schiff. Like, hey, Adam, can I record this conversation? And he's like appalled that I even brought up. And he grabs his chair, feet flat on the ground. And he looks at me like, no, you cannot record this. Are you recording it now? No, I'm not. I'm just, here's my phone. And I just thought if I could hit, no, you can't.
Yeah.
You promised me you're not recording? I promise I'm not recording this. Okay. I think the meeting's over.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So how long did that last?
God, how long was I in there?
Oh, it's very, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean, 15 minutes?
That almost
It was
seems
very
like completely
short.
pointless.
Yeah, it was completely pointless. You're right, and it bothered me to no end. And I let.
Did he ask
Dan
you
know.
questions about Deutsche?
No, he didn't.
So what was the point of that? There was really no point.
Well,
if,
for me,
if Goldman was running the show.
there was a point for me, but Dan didn't notice at the time. The point for me it was to verify Dan was Dan. That's it.
Okay.
To make sure he can put me in the room, he could do what he said he was. And so he got me in the room with Adam, and Adam knew who he was, and that was good enough for me to give documents. So I was there prepared to give them the document. I go out into the hallway and get some pictures with Marlo because he wants pictures of him with Adam Schiff. So we take pictures, and then I say, okay, well, how about I give this to your secretary? He said, no, absolutely not. You can only give them to Dan. So Dan gets on the phone. There's noises and loud people slamming things and glass breaking and punches being thrown and fires being set. I say, okay, Val, you're gonna have to talk with Dan. You're going to reconvene another time. Sorry to make you come in here for nothing. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. So I go back home, and that's when the FBI show up 2 days later. And then during the FBI conversation, they said, and I told them about Adam Schiff. They said, we can't tell you what to do or what not to do. But, Adam Schiff and this congressional investigation, it's a political thing. And we're just here to catch the bad guys. We don't care about politics.
That was important for us, too. We didn't specifically write about the Schiff episode.
Yeah.
Because...
Is that true, though, to be fair? I mean...
What?
I'm just saying, aside from this podcast... Is it true that the FBI is not political? We
could go on for another podcast for hours
a separate
about
topic.
that. Yeah.
But we made a conscious sorry to cut you off.
Sure.
We made a conscious decision to leave that part out of it.
Correct.
Kind of in consultation with you.
Well, explain to the readers or listeners why.
Well, we find the work that the FBI is doing more important.
Exactly.
To put it bluntly.
That's what I felt too.
And the stories about Val and the FBI and
the story is about the criminal investigation into Deutsche Bank.
Right.
And what we laid out in the article is that Val has spoken to a shit ton of people over the past 3 years or so that has led directly to action. And this is what we kind of took exception with the article in the New York Times, was that you were painted sort of as this kind of off the wall guy, one minute you're here, 1 minute you're there.
You're being kind in that description. It's painted more like a drug addict, idiot, fame-seeking asshole out to make money off my dead father's name.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe that shit.
Let's say something about that was not in that article that I recall. If you guys tell me that being a whistleblower is dangerous.
Yes,
it's dangerous, and a person who does that has courage. And it should be whatever that sort of should be up front. And that was not in there that I recall.
And that was one of the first times that Val was exposed to the world at all. And so let's be honest, you've helped the New York Fed bring down a big fine against Deutsche Bank. You helped Italian prosecutors bring sentences against senior Deutsche Bank executives, including Michele Faisola, who your father knew very well, and there's messages in your father's accounts with Michele,
Right.
and who was just sentenced to, 4 years and some months.
Mm-hmm.
We laid out in the article, I believe, 3 examples of direct action that happened
because of your documents.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
so people can, like, even the article that came out today, whatever the phrasing was, what was it? Somewhat believable, or maybe believable.
Or possibly believable. And
And
Val
it's like,
Broeksmit, and his possibly believable son, Val.
Yeah. And it's like, look, we're all human beings. Like, let's just be honest. We all have shit in our past.
Yeah,
but what I look at,
I've got a lot of shit. But
Wait,
what?
everyone does.
So what?
Something you want to tell me?
That wasn't that wasn't the point, man. The point was that, to me, I mean, it's different for you, I guess, but for me, David was my friend. I could called him a friend. You know, this guy told me one thing for years, and then did something completely different. And it was a 180 spin. Like I was telling you the other day, it was like the fucking world turned around on me.
Yeah.
It was a surprise ending, and it's like, it took me a while to comprehend what was happening, because I was reading. It's like, oh, it's not so bad. It's not that bad, is it? Marie, what's going on here? Marie, help me. And Marie's like, Val, it's bad. Like, this is bad. And I couldn't, like, face the truth. It took me a while to really face that this is happening.
Marie, do you want to say, like, what you took away from that article, and, like, what you've known of Val for a long time now? Like, what was different in the article from what you know the person to be?
I mean, one thing also I want to say about the article is that he had no idea. Like, he read it as everyone else. That question came often. It's like, oh, well, Val agreed to that, obviously. Agreed to everything and how it was exposed and how it was described. No, he discovered it that day. It was terrible mischaracterization and I mean, I can't say surprise, but yes, it was not expected. It was absolutely not expected.
So even like the night, did you know it was coming out on that day?
Well, yeah, he said,
The
I
time
think,
frame.
Tomorrow's coming out, and didn't really fact check. He and didn't give you any kind of avenues. Oh, this is gonna be the tone, and this is gonna be nothing.
Right.
So I think that's also important.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
mention.
Yeah, it's terrible, man, and I got fucked up. I got burned, totally burned, and I think I kind of understand why now. There's a story. There's two possibilities. Number one, David, throughout the course of a year, had been diminishing me slowly in the book. The book's was supposed to be called The Banker's Son. That was the original working title. And The Banker's Son turned into Dark Towers. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. I kind of like The Banker's Son. I mean, that's me, isn't it? The book was supposed to be about me and my story. And over time, it became less about me and my father and my story, and more about Deutsche Bank and Trump. And David would say, well, the publishers are telling me to do this, and the publishers say this. And he's always blaming the publishers. And the title, the publishers thought it was catchier to say Dark Towers. And then the publisher said we should take out the photos of your father and the photos of you. And the publisher said that we shouldn't mention you in the blurb on the back. And the publisher said this and that. It was like, what the fuck? And so slowly, I was being cut out of my own story.
And that's what happens. Like, that's part of the motivation. I think I brought this up earlier to you, Eric. It's like part of the motivation why we started Forensic News in the first place. It's like at least me, I had firsthand experience writing for other outlets and saw like how much power the editors and the publishers have. And that's not inherently a bad thing. Like, you should always check yourself and see, have an objective mind look at your work. But when it undercuts the actual story, I think that's when it's dangerous. And I think it's shifted into that territory with a lot of the major publications.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And David, I'm getting angry and angry at David. And I've been just so upset at that time. And it was the straw that broke the camel's back was a few weeks before he published it. And David had written a new, it's not a blurb, what is it at the back? A book description. On Twitter, someone I somewhere on Twitter said, "Hey, David's new thing is up on Amazon. Let's go check it out. Here's the link to it." So I click on the link, and he writes this description, and it barely includes my father, and it doesn't even mention me. And I was just fucking livid because he said, "Oh, I'm going to write a new description, and in the description it's going to mention you and your father prominently," and it didn't. And I was like, "What the fuck?" So I lose it. My brain just goes, steam coming out of my ears.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like 6 a.m. I think I slept like 10 minutes that night, and I was just livid. So I started texting David, and I said, "You know, David, I just want to tell you here on this text on the record that your Deutsche Bank accounts where you've been shorting Deutsche Bank over the course of the last 2 years, I just can't maintain them anymore. So I'm going to give you your password and your login credentials so you can do it yourself. I'm sorry, I just cannot do it. It is a moral, ethical thing for me. And I just want to let you know, and anybody that's listening to this in the future that may be reading these texts, that I am hereby surrendering my position as curator of Deutsche Bank puts and shorts that David Enrich has been putting on there of the New York Times." And David's like, what are you talking about? Val, stop it. Like, no, this is the way it's going to be. I'm sorry, David. Val, stop being an asshole. What are you doing? Nope, and goodbye, you know.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, the phone just keeps ringing, and I hit decline. And David's like, "This is not funny. I've contacted the lawyers now. The lawyers are getting into it." I was like, "Oh, God." Now that he's bringing the lawyers, I know he's taking it way too seriously.
You were just fucking with him, though,
I was
right?
fucking with him.
Yeah.
I wanted him to feel as betrayed as I felt betrayed at that moment, and as hurt as I was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we should say we've never met David. Like, I don't want to pass judgment on a person that I've never met. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of
so
course.
I try to stay objective, but obviously we see you in a different light than he does.
Yeah.
As like a legitimate whistleblower.
Thank you.
I'll just say, and we could then, on that point, and we could do another show on that. It seems to me that if we were to sum up this part of that conversation, is really an ethical issue. In other words, a writer is gonna. He obviously had. The point is that it was a 5-year relationship, so there's an ethical issue of if at some point he decided, I see this story differently, and a really personal issue because it involved you, your father, and a lot of things. If it was going to be that should have been a conversation. And it seems to me that it's the human aspect that you were like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah, no.
And maybe if he had actually, right? I mean,
absolutely. And had he not overreacted, things would have been very different. And had I not, I mean, of course it's my fault. I should not have done that. But again, he was my friend. And so I thought I could get away with being, sort of angry, but, obviously fucking with him. And, he knows me enough to know I don't have a fake account with his name on it.
Yeah, even like...
It should be obvious in the text where I'm saying, and for anyone else reading this in the future...
I thought that story was hilarious the first time you told me. I did. I thought it was very, it was like if you did that, I told you, like if you did that to me, I would just start laughing. Like, I know you don't have my passwords, right?
I mean, after 5 years, you should have...
you don't have my passwords.
Marie, don't mention what I've been doing the last few weeks.
You know what, though? I bet he... I'm not going to...
we did get a response from him that we're going to add into the article.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Interesting.
We'll go over that soon.
Well, then you blew our big secret here. Okay, well, I'm interested to know what that is.
Yeah, we'll share it after.
But the story is, so what happened was David did contact his lawyers, and the word spread like wildfire around the New York Times. And I had been friendly with Maggie Haberman at the time, who was also upset about this. Well, I can't believe you did this. She was saying this. So now, since Maggie knew, then I knew everyone New York Times knew. And that includes Nick Summers, the editor for David, and Ellen Pollack, the next step above Nick Summers. So it was everywhere. And now the word was Val Broeksmit, fuck this guy, because everyone's like, oh, you got David's back here. It's easy to rally behind someone now, and David really got them to rally behind him.
What did they think you did again, though? Like I still
that I set up a fake account in David's name
for Deutsche, when he wrote articles, so that
David would
profit off
monetize this. So he would write a shitty article about Deutsche, and Deutsche stock would drop.
It was a shitty joke gone wrong.
I mean,
puts, on the stock and make money. That's it. It's stupid, silly joke.
I think just to wrap up the David part of this, a good anecdote of what you shared with me, and I even saw this picture of your father's jacket.
Yes.
And I think it's just a good story of how, in my view, and I'm not experienced in the field, and I don't want to be like holier than thou, but in my view, if you have a legitimate whistleblower who's like helping you out, you should have some sort of boundary and respect for that person. And so I think this story with
helping him out. That's a very light way of putting it.
So
I was his only source for many years, and everything that he didn't have, that I didn't have, I couldn't provide him.
well, that goes back
I
to the whole
found
thing.
somebody that could. and I
My
gave it to
whistleblower
him.
goes back
Yeah.
to that whole thing. I think whistleblowers are a great thing for the community. They're not the possession of a journalist.
The story was that he asked to wear your father's jacket almost immediately
Yeah.
after.
So he comes here to do in January the fact check
Yeah.
for the book, not for the article. The article again was published in September. This is January.
Mhm.
And we go out drinking one night with Marie and I, and we go to Al Pacino's daughter's birthday party, which was funny and fun, interesting. And David's like, "Hey, I need something to wear tonight. I mean, it's kind of chilly out here." It's like, "Okay, well, here." And I was showing him a jacket so he could wear. He could wear this jacket or this coat. And I said, "Oh, this one." I had a memory as I grabbed this one. This is one my father's. I actually gave it to him as a birthday present one year. He's like, "Oh, really? Can I see it?" He's like, "Yeah. Here you go." And he's like, "Oh, wow, can I wear this?" It's like, yeah, I guess that'd be sure. Why not? He's like, "Oh, great, I can wear it." And he wears the jacket all night in every bar, everywhere we go. All night, he wouldn't take it off. And then at the end of the night, he tried to steal it, take it back to the hotel room. It was Marie, right? Did she stop him?
Yes, but even inside the house, can I just keep wearing it? But yeah, just to go back, a friend, and I mean, Val was not just helping him out; it was a partner.
Daily communication. Yeah.
You worked with him.
Exactly. I should
I
get
mean,
my
you
own
were
byline.
essentially a New York Times researcher.
Yeah,
for David.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. And I was stupid. I didn't know. I didn't see what was coming. It was foolish of me. But yes, he would wear the jacket. He wouldn't take it off. He tried to steal it, and it was very odd, to put it kindly.
Yeah. So I think this might be a good.
But there was we skipped over something. Dan Goldman.
Yeah.
So
you want to
just
finish out the Schiff
If I
story?
could finish that, yeah.
Yeah.
So Dan Goldman and the FBI said, you guys, you could do whatever you want, of course, and you can please go ahead and work with Adam Schiff. And we're not telling you not to, but we're just here to catch the bad guys, So we're not political, and that's what they kind of sold me on that. And they were good people, and I met them and I spent time with them, and so I was like, you know what, fuck Adam Schiff, and I had to deal with Dan Goldman anyway. Don't really like the guy. I like these guys. I'm gonna go with these guys, And it didn't have to make a choice. I could have worked with both of them, and eventually I did. But at the time, I was like, enough of this Dan Goldman. And so Dan Goldman later called me and says, "Val, okay, I'm really sorry about what happened with Adam Schiff's office. I'm gonna set up this thing, and you're gonna send me these files." I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna send you these files." I said, "What?" Like, look, what you don't know is that I met with the FBI in the interim. Had you done what you said you'd done, you would have had the files with you now. But unfortunately, I had this buffer of 2 weeks now, and I talked to the FBI. I said, "Wait, who are the FBI did you talk to?" I was like, "Oh, so-and-so." I don't know these people. How do you know they're FBI? They're probably just Russian spies trying to get your shit. Like, look, I verified them. They're not Russian spies. It's like, look, Val, you gave us your word. You said that you would give me these things, and I put you in the room with Adam Schiff. I got you to meet Adam Schiff. I'm like, what? It's like, yes, I did all these things for you, and now you're going to tell me you're not going to give me
Was this
these?
Moby?
No,
Was this the
this
other?
is Dan
This is
Goldman.
Dan Goldman.
And I'm like, well, dude.
They sound the same.
And he's like, yeah, and Moby's going to be very upset when he hears about this.
I promised you a slot playing on Moby's 19th album if you gave the documents.
I said, Dan.
Not only that, set up a meeting for what? The meeting was pointless.
It was yes, it was worthless. He fucked it up, right?
Yeah.
And he came prepared for the meeting.
Yeah.
And Adam was not.
Yes, exactly. And I said, look, man, I'm not an Adam Schiff fanboy. I don't give a fuck about Adam Schiff. I don't care about meeting him. I just did this because I wanted to verify you. And he was like, what? It's like, yeah, I wanted to make sure I knew you were Dan Goldman and not some bullshit person at the end of the phone. It's like, how dare you? Of course I'm Dan Goldman. I am the Dan. There's like a million Dan Goldmans. But of course I'm Dan. I mean, you don't trust Moby? It's like, well, of course I trust Moby. It's like, well, then how come you would do this backstabbing to me? He was really offended by this. And it turned, he was yelling at the end of the phone call.
Really?
He was yelling.
Oh, wow.
And I said, look, man, fuck you. You want this, subpoena me. Click.
And so they did.
But what happened, what you don't know,
okay,
is, and David wrote in his article that I was trying to get money out of them and extort them. It was a bunch of bullshit.
It's just not true.
I told them, and I recorded the phone call, and I still haven't given it to you, but I will give it to you. Can you find that phone call? Actually, it's in the voice memos. It says Val versus Dan Goldman.
Does it really say that?
Yeah, that's the title. So and what happened
That's
was I was watching this investigation go, and it was going nowhere, and I felt fucking terrible because I had this document that I knew it was the breach report, which I
Okay.
knew that they would benefit from highly. It was exactly what Dan needed
Which is
at that time.
the breach report we included because it shows a relationship between DBTCA and VTB,
Yeah.
and this is 2013, right before
That's
the
right.
sanctions.
And so I texted Dan. I said, "Look, Dan, we got off to a bad start.
Mhm.
I have some stuff you're gonna need. Look, let me give you this breach report. But I am working with the FBI, so it would be beneficial if you subpoenaed me. Why don't you just do that? Subpoena me now, so then I could say, look, FBI friends, they subpoenaed me, so I really have no choice."
Mhm.
And Dan said, "You know what? That's a good idea. Let's do that." And then he sort of apologized in his way as well.
Mhm.
And then I said, "Great, click." And then a few days later, he sent me the subpoena, just as we agreed to. And then I gave him the breach report, and that was it. And the way David portrays this event was very different than the way it happened.
Mm.
And again, I have all the text messages, and I
Mhm.
have the recordings that I've supplied you guys. Well, I haven't given you the recording yet, but I've given you the text messages. You've seen them.
Mm-hmm. So they
So-
subpoenaed you, and what
Yeah.
did the subpoena say, if you remember the exact
I sent
wording?
it to you, remember?
Yeah, I think it said something
It was-
like all. It was very broad. All Deutsche Bank
It
Yeah.
requested all
records from
documents,
2010 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
but it also
this is
singled
the
out
Dan.
DBTCA.
It's from Dan Goldman.
Yeah.
The number and the degree of strings that you are trying to attach to it.
Hmm.
The strings was, Dan, what I would like to do, if I give you this, is have some oversight into how my father's emails are used.
Right.
That's
So
all I want.
David wrote it
Some-
as like you wanted a role with House Intel, right?
No, yeah.
Whereas
it's
The truth is that you wanted to oversee where your father's files were going and how they were being used.
and who was using? Yes, I wanted to know because someone could take anything my father said out of context so easily.
Yeah.
and
And obviously
completely
he was
distort his words.
Surrounded by bad people
Yeah,
at the bank, and he was communicating with bad people.
right.
So
and
you could take something super out of context with
exactly
one of the emails and
And-
make your dad look like a bad guy.
And I don't know any of the people that Dan's working with other
Yeah.
than Dan. And my experience of Dan is not a positive experience. So I did not trust him anyway. So, of course, I wanted some oversight, something. And he just refused flat out. And that was an issue.
So
that I
that
had
was
with
the
him.
subpoena. That's when the subpoena came down.
No, the subpoena came down, remember, like I said, much later, when I
Okay.
said, hey, Dan, subpoena me, please,
Okay.
because then I can give you these documents.
Okay.
After things had settled down a bit, that's when the subpoena came. He
Mhm.
never did subpoena me after that argument. It was months later, when I
Okay.
asked for a subpoena. But yeah, that's the and so apparently it's been useful to them, is what I've heard.
So just to finish the story, you provided files.
Yes.
How specific do we want to date that? Sometime in 2019.
Yeah.
In 20
Summer 20.
Summer of
yeah.
2019,
Mhm.
Val complied with the subpoena.
Yeah.
Do you want to take?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go from here?
Where do we go from here?
Do
Eric?
you have any updates on the current status of said investigations that you could tell us about?
No,
No.
I cannot.
Mm-hmm.
What if I repeat it again, but in a lower tone of
No.
voice? No.
I cannot. No, I cannot.
Well, I
No.
think we've covered the.
Yeah, you push a little button.
Yeah, just keep pressing it.
I'm really
yeah.
sure for that.
Yeah. I would like to talk more about the article because I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of
Mm.
what brought us all together.
Sure.
I know we covered the.
Let's talk about the action. We talked about the Fed a little bit, but you
This-
want to talk about how?
Well, there's
How-
a lot more. I mean, do you want to do the article here? Because people will read the article and take.
Well,
their,
let's get through
because
the article and
there's
then.
there's a lot of stuff the article is not covered. Like
Right. That's why I want to
Glenn
know more
Simpson,
about.
Fusion GPS.
Yeah.
John Moscow, the Sony hack. all
Yeah.
this
So let's
stuff.
start with. So let's go on to the how you got in contact with Glenn Simpson, and then we can fold that into the New York Fed fine.
Sure, absolutely. Oh yeah, the Fed. Sorry, that's what you wanted to go to.
Yeah,
we'll
but
do that first.
that starts with Glenn.
Yeah.
essentially.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
So,
it
yeah.
does. Okay. So Glenn, he's a trip. He's a character. So I'm in Rome, 2016, and I'm sort of I'm convinced myself that I'm going to write my story. And every time I do, I just watch Netflix. One sentence written. Oh,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. And then what's on Netflix today? And then I couldn't get anything done. so I figured I would try to find someone else to write my story for me. At the same time, I'm still getting a deluge of journalists calling me every 5 minutes, asking me for what I have on Trump. Because before Trump, this is, remember, right after Trump's, what do you call it? He won the nomination. Actually,
Inauguration?
This is right before the inauguration, after the presidency.
Early
after he won.
January, right?
Yeah. No. This is December 2016. And I'm in Rome,
Right.
doing more research, trying to figure out. I won't tell you. I'm in Rome, and one reporter this person described themselves as a reporter and said, I really am interested in your story, and I'd like to do a story for, I'll just say, Financial Times. And can I meet with you? What's your schedule like? I'm like, I'm free. But look, it's going to take 3 days to hear my story, so if you don't have 3 days, don't come. And that's what I've been telling all reporters at that time, because it took 3 days to hear everything. And this person said, oh, okay, how about tomorrow? I'm like, well, isn't it tomorrow New Year's Eve? Like, yeah. No, you don't have anything better to do? No, we need to get this done now. I got to get this story out there. It's like, okay, who sent you to me, by the way? Oh, so-and-so from this magazine. I'm like, oh, magazine? Oh, I mean newspaper. Wait, newspaper? Oh, I mean online thing. Oh, you know what? Don't worry about it. Like, okay. So I figured this is just a hungry reporter. It's someone new that was trying to make their name and trying to find me and using me as their jumping off point. And I like hungry new reporters better than the seasoned old reporters, because they work harder and they're much more passionate.
Thanks.
No, seriously, there's a big difference. You get the famous reporters that have Pulitzer Prizes, and they're great and all, but they don't have the passion that the younger, hungry reporters have. So that's why I thought this was a young, hungry reporter. So the person flies out on New Year's Eve and spends New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and the next day with me and tell them this person the story. And this person eventually would become what I would call my handler, and which would steer me in the right direction when I was in the wrong direction, put me in touch with people I needed to know, et cetera, et cetera. And we struck up a relationship where we would talk on almost a daily basis over the course of the next year and a half. I put a lot of trust in this person. And cut to about a month later, I'm in Portugal, and I'm running out of money, and I'm running out of drugs. And I don't know what to do. I'm like, fuck, what I do? So I start calling some friends, and well, Peggy, I should introduce Peggy into the story.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not yet, but later, because today is New Year's Day, and she died a year ago today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we're thinking about her today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really miss Peggy. She's great. Peggy was very helpful. Well, at the time, she was not helpful, actually, because I sent her an email saying, Peggy, I'm stuck here. Can you send me like $1,500? I'll pay you back. And she thought I was a Nigerian scammer, saying, I'm stuck in Portugal. I need $1,500 to leave the country. Because the way I worded it, and I look back on it now, and we laughed later, it was exactly like one of those phishing emails. It's like, oh my God, what's going on here? So,
my dear,
and I was a little upset.
Yeah, I have found
dearest.
myself in a I found myself in a situation in the sum of one. I have recently deposited in the sum of it. It always has that kind of language.
And then, so Peggy I didn't hear back from her. I was kind of hurt. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck, Peggy? Why are you doing this to me? And again, I found out later what happened. But I called my handler to say the same thing. I said, look, I left out drugs, but I am running out of everything, and I need, do you know anyone that will buy these documents? So at this point in time, I had not ever sought money or never tried to sell anything. I just, was giving everything to everyone for free. And I didn't really care. I mean, of course I needed money at the time. I'm homeless in Europe for a year and a half. So of course I needed money, but I did not, and journalists, they don't pay for shit. Anyway, you guys are broke all the time.
You can't pay a source either.
Company
That's
card.
a little off
I don't know
limits.
about broke.
Right.
I
You
mean,
can't pay a source. But the Germans can, which I learned in 2017.
Oh, really? Do they have different sort
Yes.
of
No.
ethical rules over there?
No. If you're on camera, they can pay you.
Ah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have money, but
Makes sense.
for me,
That's
Yeah.
generally people do.
yeah,
Yes, and
Sure.
they do not want to give it to other people
Yeah.
for
Right.
themselves.
that's what this whole story is about.
Yeah.
in a way.
So
Kind of.
And David, I think, took that out of context too, and because that was the first time ever I said, "Hey, I need money. What do I do? The only thing I have of value are emails from Deutsche Bank." So the handler says, "Look, I know somebody that can help you. Give me 20 minutes." So I'm like, "Okay." So hangs up the phone. I'm watching the inauguration. It's like terrible time for the world. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Donald Trump being inaugurated into the White House. Scary. So I'm there, and it's an Airbnb because at this point I could not stay in the 5-star hotels anymore. I had to stay in the Airbnbs, which were the quality of was getting lower and lower. And she's looking at me like, can we move forward? Okay. So I get a phone call, and the handler says, "Look, I found this person. His name is Glenn Simpson. He's a good guy, and he's going to pay for your documents. I think he's going to help you out. I think this is a very good match. Wait for his phone call." So I said, "Okay." So I wait for the phone call.
Sounds like a headhunter.
During that,
Yeah.
Well, it's curious. We don't know this person what
that person was working for.
Yeah. We still very, very. He/she is obscured.
Yeah.
Everything and obfuscated even more. So we don't know. But I get a phone call. Phone rings, and it's Glenn Simpson. And during the interim between the handler telling me to wait and Glenn Simpson calling, I do a little Google search, and I see Glenn Simpson, Fusion Industry, GPS, the Steele dossier. Like, oh, wow, it's that guy.
So this was still January of 2017. Like this was days after the dossier came out.
Days, like 10 days
right
after.
So Glenn's new project was...
It was January 26th, and then the reason I know that because that is at that point the second anniversary of my father's death. He died on January 26th. So I remember Glenn calling me on January 26th, and I thought that was odd too. Every January 26th, something strange happens now. Anyway, hello, Val. This is Val Broeksmit. Yeah, yes. This is Glenn Simpson. Blah blah blah. Beep. Redacted. Says you have some documents that might be of high value. Yeah, I do. What did she say? Well, she said about et cetera, et cetera. What do you think can come to DC right away? Like, no, don't. It's like, she says that you might be in a bind here. You might need some money or something like that. Like, yes, Glenn, I am. And she said that you were willing to pay. Yes. What do you think about $10,000? Like, that sounds pretty good to me. I'll take it. All right, $10,000 it is. And like, well, but Glenn, there's some. Of course, expenses included. Don't worry about it. How about I send you my credit card? All right. I like you. I like this guy. He's down to business. Gets to the point. And it seems like an interesting guy. And the more I read about him, the more I'm interested. And he says, "Okay, well, we'll pick a place. Let's meet somewhere, Val. Where would you like to meet?" I was like, "Look, I don't know you. You seem interesting. I saw you online in your Fusion GPS and the Steele dossier stuff. But look, at this point in time, I've been through a lot of shit. Yeah. And people have been spying on me. I've been hacked multiple times. Someone smashed the window and stole a computer. Someone stole hard drives. Like, things were happening, and it was odd. So I'm like, look, man, I don't know you. You don't know me. Why don't we meet somewhere neutral? He's like, you know what? That's a good idea, Val. Where would you like to meet? It's like, well, how about somewhere warm? What do you think about the Barbados or somewhere in those the British Virgin Islands? Like, oh, sounds great. But you know what? I got a passport issue. It's like, what? Yes, I got a passport issue. I'm sure you've been watching the news. I am Glenn Simpson, the Fusion GPS and the Steele dot. He didn't say that, but he said, he alluded to the fact that he was being fucked with by the government by
the new Trump admin.
That's right, because of his dealings with.
So what was his focus then?
At the
what
time,
did he want?
At the time, of course, Trump, but the main focus was Robert Mercer and Rentech, Renaissance Technology. And as we all know now, Rentech had been a major funder for the Trump campaign. Right. Millions of dollars.
The Mercers pretty much funded everything.
They did, including
Cambridge
Brexit.
Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah. So Robert Mercer was a very interesting fella as well. He created, he and Bob Simmons created Rentech a long time ago. And
so Glenn was after information on Mercer specifically?
On Mercer specifically, yeah.
And he said there was no client, right? This was just fusion work that they were doing.
Exactly.
Pro bono.
Just fusion work.
Kind of.
They use that phrase a lot in their book.
Yeah, that's what he says, yeah. And it's probably half true. It's like with anything Glenn says.
I think, yeah. I have no reason to doubt it.
Can we pause for a second? Just take a quick...
We'll go after.
Okay.
We'll go after.
Because I don't know if I should say...
No.
Okay.
We'll just keep going.
Got it. You know what I'm trying to...
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So anyway, Glenn, agrees to meet in the St. Thomas, because it's the U.S. Virgin Islands. So it's like, here, why don't you take my credit card, get yourself a hotel room, get out of that shitty Airbnb, etc.
Yeah.
And get a flight to right away to St. Thomas. Tell me the flight, and we'll meet you there same day. So I'm like, all right. So I do this, and by the way, I'm carrying, I got 7 suitcases. I've got 4 guitars and an amplifier, and 5 suitcases, 4 guitars and an amplifier. And it's a lot of shit. So I've amassed a lot over this year and a half in Europe. So I'm finally going back to American soil, which I'm not looking forward to at all, now that Trump is running it. And I get to St. Thomas, and I find this sort of shitty. I find the best deal I can, because I don't want to seem like I'm, getting a $1,500 a night suite.
Yeah.
But the best I could find was this $500 a night, semi-decent resort hotel place. And Glenn, I think in his book, describes it as a dingy, crappy place, which it was kind of. And what we didn't know at the time was that a lot of the intelligence services were using that same hotel as a conference center for their
American.
Yeah. DIA, CIA, NSC or NSA, and it was very weird. And Glenn's like, "Did you pick this place on purpose?" It's like, "No, I had no idea." "Are you sure you didn't know?" Because now he's getting suspicious of me. It's like, "No, I didn't know that NSA was having a meeting here." It's like, "Well, how did you not know? God damn it!" Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know their schedule, man. It just said find a hotel, so I did. So we get in there, and we sniff each other out. He wants to make sure I'm not a Russian spy, and make sure he's not a Russian spy. And he brings his tech guy with him, who's another sort of a fun guy, good guy. I'm not going to tell you his name, but I'm sure Glenn, I think he mentioned it in the book, in Glenn's book. But anyway, we sort of party for like 3 days.
Yeah.
After he verifies my documents and I give them to him and everything's kosher, he sends half of the money first. And then we sort of just party for 3 days. And Glenn is he's a scene. He's a scene. He's a trip. He's a real character, one of a kind.
So did you guys?
They stopped making his prototype a long time ago.
Yeah. So are you allowed to say if there was any Mercer stuff that was, if you want to? There may or may not.
Maybe.
Have been.
Yes.
Okay.
On the next one.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But we party. We go to this dingy strip club, man. Oh, disturbing. These really big, large women that sort of like, "Hello, would you like a lap dance?"
Oh man.
It's like, you're gonna not, it was disturbing. And strip clubs are kind of disturbing anyway, naturally, but inherently. But in St. Thomas, it's like times 10. It's very odd. Very odd.
Never been. I can't offer any expertise here.
Smile on his face, drink sloshing around. This is great, Val. Like, this is not great, Glenn. Can we leave? What do you mean? And he's just like happy to be away from home. You could tell. Like, this is disgusting. Can we please go somewhere else? Like, oh, this is. Can we bring some of these women with us? Like, Glenn, aren't you married? No, maybe a little bit. Anyway, we end up just sort of walking down the beach, getting more and more drunk and accosting tourists. We had a fun time.
Yeah.
Glenn sobers up a few days later and said, "Look, I gotta get back to DC, and Val, why don't you stay here? And we'll call you when we need you. Hang tight." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yes, but don't use room service. Whatever you do not order room service." I'm like, "Okay." And the gift shop, stay away from the gift shop. I was like, "Okay, I'll stay away from the gift shop." I'm there for about 5-6 more days on my own, and I order a lot of room service, and I bought this hat actually at the gift shop.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Good memory.
Yes, thank you. And Glenn says, "Look, Val," phone rings, "Val, we need you down in DC right away, ASAP. There's stuff we need you to do." It's like, "Okay, use my credit card and go buy yourself a ticket, and don't go first class, okay? Just keep it simple." It's like,
yeah,
don't worry, I wasn't even considering just don't do it, okay? All right, click. By the way, the fees for the flight from Portugal were astronomical. What are you carrying with you? A small dog or elephants? What do you got in there? Glenn, I got 7 pieces of luggage, 4 guitars, etc. All right, well, let's keep the prices down. So I do my best I can. It turns out that the extra luggage, and I say this because later it becomes an issue, is the ticket was like $500, but the extra luggage was $700. So later Glenn would accuse me of upgrading myself to first class. Again, it's irrelevant, it seems like, but later on it becomes a huge issue.
I see.
Yeah.
And it was the demise of our friendship.
Seems like one thing that they missed is how, like we talk about how funny your story is. I mean, that aspect of the whistleblower story, maybe And maybe what people even remember, it's just so outrageous. Like, and I know that there's a part of me that just enjoys that story and a lot of your stories.
Well, thank you. There's more.
There's
Yeah.
the serious aspect to all this, and then there's just the outrageous, which I
And
think
sometimes you have to laugh. I think laughter's a good thing to stay sane sometimes.
I think so. I think that's one thing that was maybe missed by other news organizations.
Yeah.
There really is a funny aspect to some of this, as serious as it is.
There's some funny shit that happened, man. Funny stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like tragic and funny at the same time. So there's a good mix of sad,
Right.
completely sad stuff and some hilarious shit. But let me finish the Glenn part, because you'll like this, Eric.
Sure.
You're gonna love it. So I get to DC, and Glenn doesn't tell me where to go. He says, "Just call this number, Val, as soon as you land." I was like, "Okay." So I land in DC, and I call this number. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna send you another address. You tell the Uber driver, get an Uber, and tell him that's where you want to go." I was like, "Okay." So get in there, Uber,
Mm-hmm.
and I arrive at some residential neighborhood in DC. I'm like, "Okay, where am I? There's no hotel here." And I get out of the car, and Glenn's like, "Is that you outside?" "Yes, that's me." "All right, just go into the front and walk up to the porch, and you'll see me." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Fuck, this is a house, isn't it?" So I go in, and it's Glenn Simpson's home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Hey, did you not find a hotel? How's it going?" It's, all the hotels are really booked, really expensive stuff, really expensive. And by the way, we can't let no one can know you're here. So I don't trust hotels. People talk. Concierges, they have this service, the Blue Key system, or whatever. You see that movie with the Wes Anderson film with the crossed keys? Anyway, it's really
There's
funny
a classic Val tangent right there. Just to sum up Val as a...
It's really funny. It was the hotel movie that he made, the Budapest Hotel or whatever.
Oh, the Grand Budapest
There
Hotel.
you go. Yes,
Yeah.
very funny. Anyway, Glenn was so paranoid this time. And you got to remember, he had a reason to be paranoid. Every intelligence agency in the world wanted to know what the hell he had.
Yeah.
And he was being watched and spied on. And it was obvious. And he had reason to be paranoid. And for a guy that's inherently paranoid to begin with, it's a bad combination. Okay, it's a bad combination because he just went off the wall charts paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had, I couldn't log into his Wi-Fi. Everyone had to have their own personal Wi-Fi system that you can log into, and it was encrypted, always encrypted chats. You can't talk too loud outside of the house, even inside the house. Everything had to be closed, the windows, in case someone was listening. I mean, it was kind of silly, but I was wrapped up in it. It was like, oh my God.
I suppose in the time frame,
Russian
though.
spies everywhere. You're right. What about the B&D? Are they watching us? I
Yeah.
don't know about the B&D, Val. What do you think? We were like, this, the more we drink, we get more and more paranoid. Oh, do you think what about the French? Don't they have no, the French, they're no good, Val. Don't worry about this. Interpol's got it. Don't worry, they're not covering us. It was like it's a whole scene.
Yeah.
So I'm living at Glenn's house. And he's apparently he and his wife, they don't get along too well. So they have separate bedrooms, and I'm sleeping in the wife's bedroom, and I call Peggy. I'm like, Peggy, you never guess what happened. So Peggy's. Oh, so Peggy again. She died a year ago today, but she was a very good friend of mine. She's the wife of Neil Young, and she had her own band too called Peggy Young and the Survivors. But everyone now knows her as Neil Young's wife, and they got divorced after 36 years of marriage. After Neil Young cheated on her with Daryl fucking Hannah, and sadly enough, Neil Young is the breadwinner for many people. He supports a lot of people's families, so people chose sides. They had to choose Neil's side, and Peggy understood that, but she was sort of left in the dust by these people that like David fucking Crosby, and people that said that they were her friends and they're there for her. We're not.
It's kind of how you bonded, huh?
Yeah, that's how we bonded.
Yeah.
Exactly how we bonded. And so she, very close friend of mine. She became my surrogate mother, really, over this time. And so I said, Peggy, and she was following politics too. She couldn't stand Trump. She couldn't believe what was happening. Like, Peggy, I'm at Glenn Simpson's house. She's like, Val, have you gone mad? What's wrong with you? Stop doing oxycodone. It's like, look, I stopped oxycodone months ago. God damn it! I swear to God, I'm at Glenn Simpson's house, and I'm in his wife's fucking bedroom, and I'm about to go to sleep because I'm really tired. But I just wanted to let you know I'm okay. It's like, Val, I don't think you're okay at all. I think you need to go to a psychiatrist. I'm like, no, seriously. Look, I'm going to send you these pictures, and I verified where I was, and she's like, oh my God, okay. you're probably being spied on. Now she gets paranoid too. You watch out for the Russians.
It's just a web of paranoia.
Yeah, it is. It just spreads.
Yeah.
And man, remember at the time, the dossier just came out. BuzzFeed just published it, and Glenn was so pissed off about that. And it was a scene. There was some cause for paranoia, but you know, it did go over the top. Anyway, I'm staying in Glenn's house. For example, let me give you one example, and then I'll move forward. But I wake up a couple of days later. I can't remember what day it was, and I'm you know, just wiping the sleep from my eyes, smoking a cigarette on the front porch, and I noticed there's like a little tear in the screen where one of the windows is like, oh, was that there when I came here? I don't remember. And Glenn's got this big, ridiculous 1995 security camera. It's like the most obtrusive camera you could possibly buy. It's not secret at all.
ADT.
Yeah. ADT, right? The security systems, and the door would beep when you would open it. That old school kind of system.
That was just Glenn.
Right.
Boop.
Yes. So I was like, oh, this is weird, and it's like, oh, what a nice morning. It's chilly, some snow on the ground. It's like this Chevy Chase is the neighborhood. It's like an upscale place. Like, oh, this is kind of cool neighborhood. I'm just smoking a cigarette. Glenn comes storming out of the house. Like, Val, where were you last night at 2 a.m.? I was like, Glenn, I was asleep, man. I'm still jet lagged. I was asleep at 11. No, you weren't. You were out. I saw you. You were running to cars, and I heard you, and I saw you. I was like, what are you talking about? You ran out and snuck out of the house at 2:30 in the morning and gave something to somebody in a black car, didn't you? Like, no, I did not. Don't you tell me that you didn't. Glenn, well, stop. I just woke up, man. I haven't had coffee. I mean, can I please have some coffee before you start accusing me of shit? No, we're going to go right now to the videotape. And he points to the big obtrusive camera as if I had not seen it. See, there's a camera there, Val, and it's recorded everything, so we caught you. I'm like, oh, you didn't catch shit, goddammit. You come with me into the office. So we lumber into the office, and Glenn's got his little like dual monitors from 1997 set up. It's a big PC. He's not a tech guy. And he opens up the app for the video camera, and so he starts looking at me and pushing the fast forward button. You know, like he's got me just dead on sight. Right, he's got me. He's looking
like CSI, enhanced the image.
Yeah, and I'm grinning because I know it's not me.
Yeah,
so I'm like, I can't wait to see what this is. And he's just like, I can't. You could feel the tension in the room. I was like, okay, I just want coffee. He's like, so we get to like 2:27 or something, and we're looking at the footage is black and white, you know, and it's sort of greenish, you know, and you see this figure lumber onto the frame and sort of look right, look left, and the figure's wearing a hoodie. And I'm like, well, holy shit, Glenn was right. There is like a spy trying to sneak into the house. I'm like, holy fuck. And we're peeled to the screen, and we see that this person pulls out a knife and cuts the slit into the screen that I had noticed earlier. It's like, holy shit. And puts her hand in there and lifts out the window. And there's no beeping at that window. It's like, and Glenn's like, oh. Like, 'cause you can understand now that's why they chose this window. It didn't beep. And it lifts up the screen, lifts up the window, and starts lumbering. I see it like lumber. Sorry, climbing into the window, but then falls. Boom. And I was like, what? And the figure stands up, and the hood falls off, and it's Glenn's son.
A teenager
sneaking back into the house, drunk as fuck, stoned off.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
We've all done this. And I start laughing, man. I just couldn't stop laughing. It's so funny. Like, oh, man, Glenn, I'm sure, don't take it easy on him. I'm sure you've done this when you were a kid. We've all done this. Don't go hard on him. He's like, just like stoically angry, staring at me like he was wrong. He was so upset. He's just like staring at the screen. He won't look at me now. He's like, okay, Val, go get some coffee. Thank you, Glenn.
That's a good Glenn anecdote, actually. And it explains the paranoia pretty well.
Well, I think we should kind of sum up.
Yeah,
I think
we're running out of time here.
And by the way, that story is truly amazing, literally. We've gone over about 2 hours already. I know.
Really?
it
Yeah,
has been 2 hours.
It's over. It's past 10 o'clock.
We didn't even get to.
We'll do part 2, but
if you
absolutely.
And the next time we'll have 4 mics for Marie. Man.
We should sum it up in the context of the article because it is coming out.
Yeah, Scott, why don't you sum up what people are going to be seeing on Friday, and then Val will finish this out.
So well, maybe the best way is to just ask you what you were understanding is of the relationship between VTB and Trump and Deutsche.
Sure. Well, what I've what I've discovered.
So as
yeah.
you can hear, if you've been listening for the past 2 hours, Val has met an incredible amount of people. Some,
Zelig, as we said, right?
Selig,
yeah.
yes.
And I don't think we mentioned other people at the
Very
bank.
Byzantine path. Yes.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, I don't think we mentioned other people at the bank that you got to
right.
know, and other people are in and around the bank. But this is where this knowledge about VTB comes from.
Right.
And if you want to explain what that is,
Sure.
you told the FBI.
Well, VTB is, if you don't know, is a Russian state-owned bank.
Mhm.
It's Putin's bank, oligarch bank, and it's not a. It's a lot of shitty things have happened through there, and
Right.
in association with Deutsche Bank, Deutsche Bank Moscow more specifically.
Mhm.
And the head of that at the time during these things called the mirror trades, which was a money laundering operation that Deutsche Bank had with Putin and the government,
Mhm.
oversaw by a guy named Igor Lejevsky
Mhm.
at the time.
He was the head of Deutsche Bank Moscow.
That's correct. And he was,
2010 to
Mhm.
that time frame.
Appointed by Putin himself.
Correct.
Appointed is the wrong word, but kind of like that.
Blessing.
Right.
Right.
And VTB through Cyprus,
Mhm.
Bank of Cyprus, which was run by Joseph Ackerman, and still
Mhm.
is run by Joseph Ackerman.
Mhm.
And I believe you pointed out Wilbur Ross is one of the.
Wilbur Ross was there for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact dates, but
All the favorites.
Yeah, at the time
all
that-
good names, yeah.
at the time that Ross and Ackerman were there,
Mhm.
you had a Russian oligarch, Rybolovlev,
Mhm.
who
Is that how you
pops up-
pronounce it? Rybolovlev, yeah. It's a tough one to get.
Dmitry R.
Yes, Dmitry R.
He's the one that bought the Trump property way overpriced.
That's right, for
whatever.
$100 million for a $52 million property. I believe it
Correct.
was.
So there was
Yeah.
like a $50 million.
Discrepancy there.
handoff.
Yeah. And
But
that's
he was at the Bank of Cyprus with
Mhm.
Wilbur Ross, with Ackerman,
Mhm.
with I think an ex-KGB guy. So there was Russians essentially
Yeah.
running that bank at that time.
Is that Renat Akhmetshin?
He wasn't
No.
on the board, but he
okay.
was banking with them.
Yeah, yeah. So that was also one of Glenn's people, Renat.
Renat, who was
Yeah.
at the Trump Tower
Yeah,
meeting. But
that's right.
that's
So
right.
yeah, so VTB would have this very intimate relationship with Deutsche Bank for a very long time. And when sanctions came on in 2014, Russia invades Ukraine.
Mhm.
America put sanctions on Russian oligarchs in
Mhm.
Russia in general. Which means, if you don't know, if you are a billionaire in Russia and sanctions are put on you and your country, no one will do business with you.
Mhm.
No NATO country will do business. So your value dropped from 1 billion to 0. And that was scary and it was terrible for a lot of these people. So they wanted to figure a way to get money out of Russia
Mhm.
and skirt the sanctions. The mirror trades was one example of that happening. Billions of dollars through Deutsche Bank were coming out.
Laundering Russian money
And
from
that-
Moscow
And we should say, Scott,
to the west.
specifically Deutsche Bank DBTCA.
It's a very important
Yeah,
distinction.
very important distinction.
DBTCA is an American subsidiary of Deutsche Bank
Mhm.
that employs 700 people, which is very small compared to the
Tiny.
worldwide operations.
Yeah.
They have 10,000 in the U.S. alone and 700 that run this
And
small little
and
subsidiary.
23 billion going through it every year. 23
Correct.
billion, and they do not have a CRO.
Right. There's no
To
risk
this day,
officer,
yeah.
which is what your father wanted to
That's right.
implement. and was
Exactly.
shot down. But
Shut
in
down.
terms of VTB and Trump,
Yeah.
what is your knowledge there?
So with Trump, every single, should I say it now? Just
Yeah.
every single loan that Trump has taken out with Deutsche Bank has
Mhm.
been underwritten by VTB, and it's incredibly important. Incredibly important. And VTB's role was to underwrite most of these loans. And there are
Mhm.
a couple I think they were not. I think Alpha was a couple did it in lieu of
Earlier
VTB
in the
at
de- earlier in their-
exactly
right.
in their tenure. But the
But the more riskier loans, say
R-
post 2010 for
Yes.
Trump, for example,
that's right.
are DBTCA loans, and you provided us documents to prove that it's
That's right.
DBTCA that
Yep.
did the loans.
For example, the Moscow property.
Correct.
Sorry, Moscow property.
The Moscow,
The Chicago property.
yeah,
Yes.
Chicago loan,
Chicago loan.
which is the biggest Deutsche Bank loan to
I
Trump.
think that was 250, right? 250 million.
I want to say it was 640, but
640,
we'll have to double check
Eventually, it
that.
was 640.
Yeah.
But I think it started at 250 million chunks, or tranches.
So it's your understanding from talking to people that you've met
Mhm.
and who your subsources
Mhm.
is that VTB underwrote all of Trump loans.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that Trump is aware of this. But what happened? So Rosemary Verbralik, as we know, everyone. If you don't know, she was the
yeah.
sort of the, what do you call her? the
private
ringleader.
private banking.
Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
yeah. Technically, she was a private
personal
banking.
ba-
She
yeah.
catered to the
management.
high wealth
Yeah.
clients of
And she was so
DBTCA.
good at what she did is that the value of that she brought to Deutsche Bank DBTCA like exceeded the value of DBTCA.
Mm.
You know, her clients were billionaires and had
Mhm.
a lot of money, so she had a lot of pull there. And she like sort of had this weird relationship with Trump. They sort of fell in love with each other in a platonic way.
Yeah.
Or maybe
We
not.
actually crunched the numbers on this, and
You did.
Donald Trump's, I think I sent you this, the amount of loans that he received is 1% of DBT's entire portfolio.
It's incredible. Yeah.
One man.
That's
One
right.
man has 1% of their entire
Of
portfolio.
their debt
Yes,
too.
of
It's
their
not like he
debt.
brought anything
Very
there.
stable financials.
Yeah.
Right, when nobody else would loan to him.
Right. And so when Rosemary would package these deals together, Trump would say,
Presumably she had a contact at VTB.
presumably so.
Yeah.
A few,
Yeah.
you could say. And also Bank of Cyprus.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was Trump, of course, being the blowhard guy, said, "Hey, I give you my personal guarantee," you know, and which in the business world means that you can go after his personal assets if something goes bad. If you can't pay back, the
Basically
loan,
wipes out the LLC
right.
aspect of it, where they can only go after the LLC. If he gives the personal guarantee, then they can go after his.
That force field's down.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Personal guarantee of a pathological sociopath.
Yeah, which apparently meant a lot to Deutsche Bank.
Yeah, at the time in Deutsche Bank, but they didn't communicate very well. DBTCA did not communicate with DBHE, so it was like
Right.
they're a fiefdom, their own entity.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump would borrow money from DBTCA, but then go to Deutsche Bank AG and
Mhm.
borrow money again to pay off DBTCA.
Right.
You know, it's stuff like that. You're paying off one credit card with another, except both are under Visa. you
And
know?
for anyone else, this would be a enormous amount of risk
Yeah.
for any other bank, and they wouldn't even touch it.
Exactly.
So the VTB piece makes sense because they're taking on the
Mhm.
responsibility of it.
That's right. And that relationship, I mean, we can go on for another podcast about how that's.
Yeah, we got to wrap up here. I
But-
don't want to keep these
exactly.
guys too long.
But the
Those are
short
the best,
version, if there what's the
Yeah.
short version? The VTB signed off and said we'll take on this debt,
Mm-hmm.
and presumably because of Trump's relationship with the bank over the
Mhm.
course of the last 10, 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
going back to when he was trying. Well, actually, it's going as recent as Trump Tower Moscow,
Mm-hmm.
and VTB
And we read about
also
that too.
Mm.
was going to underwrite that as well. I don't think they got that far into it though. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting ahead of all this
Yeah.
shit. So the personal guarantee was Trump, of course, thinks, oh, they'll take my personal guarantee. But Rosemary, the way and Tom Bowers,
Mm-hmm.
sadly enough, he died recently as
Mhm.
well. Also, he killed himself,
Mhm.
suicide, and there's been a lot of conspiracy shit on the internet about it. But it's ridiculous. It's neither
Yeah.
here nor there, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm. But he was, we
Yeah.
should point out, he was one of the guys that did sign off on the Trump loans.
Well, he was Rosemary's boss, so he had to.
Right.
Yeah. So he had to do it, but he didn't. It's not the way people present it as a nefarious deed.
Right. He was kind of just the one at the end, like,
Exactly.
give the final sign off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he was aware of these loans as well, just
Yeah.
as Rosemary is. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And the way she packaged it, I believe, Marie, you are the expert here on the Trump Kushner refinancing, I believe. So she'll help us out
Sure.
real quick. I believe what happened, so Trump, for example, would take $250 million of a loan, let's say, for the Trump Chicago, and he would default on this loan, and so he needed more money. So how did they do that? They went and Jared Kushner and his company stepped in. Correct me if I'm wrong here. And they would he would take out a $50 million line of credit.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you can see that on his financial disclosure.
exactly, and disclosure form, and you can see that, and also you see it in the reports, don't you? Sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves with that.
Yeah.
We'll
No,
bring that up
Kushner's
later.
been mentioned.
So
We'll have to mention
The way
McFadden next time.
yes,
But
yes.
yeah.
The way Rosemary and Tom and DBTCA would refinance and repackage this is they would take and conflate and compound Trump's $250 million with Kushner's $50 million, repackage it as a loan that Kushner made.
Mm-hmm.
So Kushner now takes over that loan, and for some reason Kushner's mother, which
Right. She gets a personal line of credit from Deutsche as well.
right. So their names are now, they take over Trump's debt. So no
Mhm.
longer Trump does not owe that debt anymore. It's
Mm.
now Kushner's, and that's a very sneaky way to do it. And I'm not sure
So it's
how
now
legal.
Kushner's, but also VTB's on
Right.
background.
Exactly. And remember, they are sanctioned.
Correct.
This is a sanctioned bank.
Mm-hmm.
They're not supposed to be doing business with any NATO country.
And we found other documents proving a very, very close relationship between VTB and DBTCA after sanctions,
which is ongoing.
including a corresponding banking network, which is very important.
Very important. And you read that in the article.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
definitely.
sure.
But let's wrap up. If you have any final thoughts, Eric, if you want to.
I mean, I absolutely well, first of all, I do want to do this again and
Yeah.
get it,
Me
and
too.
like I just feel like there's so much more to discuss, and
Absolutely.
we really
We scratched
obviously-
the surface
yeah
of kind of the
yeah.
characters that you've
Um,
met and
and,
how we
um,
got to this place.
Unfortunately, otherwise we'd probably be here for the next 10 hours, and Tyler has to, our engineer has to, I'm sure has something else to do.
Yeah.
And it is New Year's Day, and I'm still sleeping off.
Yeah.
No, final thoughts. It's just, I don't know. It's just great to be here with you guys. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, man.
It's
Um,
great. I'm glad we did this. Let's do
this
it again.
article, I'm so looking forward
Yeah.
to putting this out. And yeah, I just don't know what else to say. Like,
In a way, I think it's going to be. I think you're a good person.
Well, thank you.
I agree.
And
I think you're a good person too, Scott.
I just
Thank
no,
you.
I don't want to go through all that bullshit. But I think you're credible, and we laid the article out in a way that shows that your documents are being taken seriously by people that matter. And so David and the New York Times and whoever wrote that piece today can portray you as, a druggie and someone seeking fame, but we see you as somebody who has valuable information and is a normal dude. So we appreciate you coming forward with all that stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And thanks for having me.
and and Marie, thank you as well.
Absolutely.
I
Maria.
might just close on just like a final thought.
Yeah.
What we're talked about, as much as we had some, the Glenn Simpson story is just an absolute classic
Right.
already, even though it just happened like 2 years ago. But what we're talking about is a very frightening, an actual sort of crime family sweeping over this country's government, as it has in so many other parts of the world. And it's so important not just what you did and continue to do, and what we're doing here. It's important. It's frankly dangerous, and so I just want that not to get lost. How serious this is, and for those listening, like, everybody needs to come together. This is 2020. This is literally the first day. This could be the most serious year in this country's history.
I mean, I think personally we shouldn't have a president whose financials are tied up to a Putin bank, just personally speaking.
Call me crazy.
But, yeah, I mean, just from a counterintelligence name drop. Counterintelligence point of view, it's a disaster to know that VTB and the Kremlin got an inside look into Trump's finances before he was president. It's very disturbing.
It's disturbing.
Very disturbing.
Well, Scott Stedman, Val Broeksmit, and Marie, it's been so great, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah,
Me too.
definitely. We'll be back soon.